When we started, there were maybe 7 or 800,000 people in Las Vegas. Now there are 2.5 million. I think now it's really the entertainment city of the world. And food is entertainment too. So people have to go to eat, to drink, and then see a show or vice versa.
This is Taste, all in on Las Vegas food, presented by Las Vegas. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Influential and esoteric celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck has been operating restaurants in Las Vegas for over 25 years, earning a following through his creative cuisine and sense of showmanship at restaurants including Karama, Cut, and Spago. On this entertaining episode, we hear how Wolfgang was initially drawn to Las Vegas when opening in 1992, and how he's seen the Las Vegas dining scene develop into an internationally acclaimed destination. Also on the show, Eliza and I take a tour of Las Vegas's bustling Chinatown, making visits to some really cool places, including Ping Pang Pong, Gabi Coffee and Bakery, Shang Artisan Noodles, and the 24-hour cocktail bar at Golden Tiki. We also experienced Cantonese barbecue nirvana at Winky, Hong Kong Barbecue and Noodle, and catch up with the restaurant's owner, Ida Sheck. I hope you enjoy this very special Las Vegas episode of the show. Man, this is a long time coming. I'm excited to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm happy to talk to you. And I know you have a beautiful office, looks like it. And I'm excited to talk to taste, because life is all about taste,
You know what? I'm going to use that tagline. I really appreciate it. Life is also about Las Vegas, visiting Las Vegas. And this whole week, we're doing episodes devoted to Las Vegas as a city. And Wolfgang, you've had restaurants there for a while, I believe since 1992 when you opened Spago Las Vegas at the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace. Now you're at the Bellagio. What was Las Vegas like in 1992 when you got there?
Oh, it was, crazy. I love boxing. So that's one of the reasons I said I'm going to open a restaurant there. And when they built the Forum, and I told Sheldon Gordon, I said, he wanted me to put a Spago there. I said, okay, if you pay for it, I'll do it. And he said, yes, no problem. So then I had to do it. And I think it was always exciting for me because of the fights and everything. At that time, there were great fights with Sugar Ray and Hagler and Hearns, and all these guys were fighting behind Caesar's Palace. Caesar's at that time was the best hotel there. So when we opened Spago in 92, in December or end of November, it was crazy because I didn't know what to expect. So all the shows were closed. There was nothing open, nothing going on in Las Vegas. And I remember we opened Spago. We got a great article in the Review Journal in Las Vegas. My mother couldn't have written it better. And we ended up doing like 60 dinners that night. And we had like 9 waiter station, and I don't know how many people in the kitchen and everything. And I said, oh my God, this is crazy. Las Vegas is crazy. I tried to call my friend Siegfried and Roy, they are Germans, and Siegfried comes close to Austria from Rosenheim. And so I said, maybe they gonna come or do something. And they said, no, sorry, the show is closed, and they're coming back for Christmas. I said, okay, but there were 3 weeks. It was crazy. No customers. I had to drink a bottle of red wine to fall asleep every night. We rented an apartment for a little next to Spago. And so then came Christmas, New Year's, and the business started to come. New Year's especially, and then came a CES, Consumer Electronics Show, and it was busy. Then it started really to get really busy. Yeah.
CES was the catalyst. We're in 2024. It's remarkable to hear about Vegas without shows and a Vegas, but now it seems it's obvious that Las Vegas is a city for food. There's so many interesting restaurants. I'd like to get a sense of yourself when you visit. I'd love to get where are you going in Vegas right now to go out?
When I'm in Vegas, I stay short times, generally 2 or 3 days. And since we have 5 property there, so if I hit each one, I have no time to go somewhere. And you know what? I no restaurants. And you know what? I feel guilty if I'm not in my restaurant when I'm there. The same thing I do when I go to London. We have cut in London. And I rarely go out in London because we have the restaurant there. So if I would live there, it would be different. And so I remember even in the old time, I never went to the restaurants. In 92, you didn't really have any chef at the restaurant there. We were the first one there with Spargo. And then a little later, Chinois. And then in 93, I told the CEO of the MGM, they just opened, I said, instead of having a Mexican restaurant, let's bring Mark Miller and let's bring Emerald. And so all of a sudden, the MGM had some named chefs in the restaurant. And then the rest is history. Then little by little, Steve Wynn and everybody, they just copied that. And every chef now from near and far has a restaurant in Las Vegas.
And that's exciting. I'd like to get a sense just in terms of the talent that is in Las Vegas now. Like, what's been the big change since when you launched in 92? Because you really are one of the establishing celebrity chefs to operate in Las Vegas. But now you walk down the strip and you've got Martha Stewart, Giada De Laurentiis, you've got Mark Vetri, all these guys. What do you think the big change is?
So when we opened Spargo, then we opened a Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill over at the MGM. And then I had Emerald come and Mark Miller come. And then all of a sudden we were a couple of chefs already there. And then when Steve Wynn, 25 years ago or so, opened the Bellagio, then he brought in some chefs. And then the Venetian, obviously, we opened a restaurant there, not 2 restaurants there. So then a lot of other restaurants, they brought in 3-star chefs. I remember even the Rio brought in Jean-Louis Paladin at that time, a famous restaurant in DC. So there were quite a lot of chefs. But the city was so different then. When we started, there were maybe 700,000 or 800,000 people in Las Vegas. Now there are 2.5 million. So it's totally different. Now you have all these arenas and all these sports things going on, the football, the hockey, and baseball is coming, I'm sure, many other things. They built this amazing sphere now to have shows there. So I think now it's really the entertainment city of the world. And, food is entertainment too. So people have to go to eat, to drink, and then see a show or vice versa.
How have the diners changed over the years? Because now it's obvious that folks are coming to Las Vegas for the food. World's 50 Best is in Vegas this month, and that's a big part of it. So tell me, how have the diners changed? Because, you think of Las Vegas back in the 70s and 80s, it's a meat and potatoes town, it's a gambling town. But obviously, Wolfgang Puck is not just doing meat and potatoes.
When we started, obviously, we had to compete against the all-you-can-eat buffets, and most of them were free. The gamblers were getting cards, vouchers that they were eating for free, and that was what I was really the most worried about. But little by little, people started to think, okay, you know what, there's good food in a restaurant. And I think so people came still for gaming, but they wanted to go to a restaurant, especially a restaurant with a name on it. And the casino people, the casino owners, they said, we want to keep the gamblers in our place. So they said, we have to bring in chefs so we can send our big gamblers to their restaurants in our hotel with the famous chef.
So it's obvious, Wolfgang, now that restaurants play a role in the economy of a casino. You want to make sure folks stick around and gamble. But it seems to me that the dynamic of diners have really changed. And they want things like dim sum. They want Szechuan food. They want, Austrian cuisine. They want really smart breads. To you, what are some of the foods at some of your restaurants, the style of dining that's really resonating with the Las Vegas diner?
Well, Las Vegas diner today are not any different than Los Angeles or San Francisco or whatever. Obviously you have more hotel rooms in Las Vegas than anywhere, but you have people come for football games. If Chicago plays the Raiders in Las Vegas, you have people come from Chicago, and or you have people come from New York. So we have all this international clientele, and now people know you get great food, great service in so many amazing restaurants there. So people have options now. Whereas in the old time there were very few options. And I think now if you go to Las Vegas, if you stay 3 days or a week in Las Vegas, you can eat in a great restaurant every night and be totally happy and think you're in Paris, maybe not with the view of the Eiffel Tower, the same one, but similar, Now you have the options really to get a lot of things there, from small restaurants, even off the strip restaurants to the restaurants in the hotels. And, we were the first one, and now we still have 4 restaurants in the hotels and one downtown, 1228, which is our bakery where we bake all the bread for our restaurants and for some other restaurants too. So I think Las Vegas probably, because it has so many hotel rooms, it's really one of our best markets.
Let me ask you, Wolfgang, about products and sourcing. I think there's a big misperception that you're in the desert. Why would you have seafood in the desert? But obviously that's a false misperception. Let's talk about how you source your products to Las Vegas. How does that work? I mean, these are massive restaurants and you're getting truly some of the finest products in the world to Las Vegas.
Well, we are, after all, in 2024, not in 1924. We have refrigerated trucks, we have airplanes and everything. So, if we get truffles from Italy to Las Vegas, it's the same getting them to New York, or it's the same getting them to anywhere. The same thing is with fish. If I want fish from the East Coast, if I want black bass from Maine or scallops from Maine, I have them in LA. So flying them from Bangor, Maine to Las Vegas is not any different. They all overnight them and we get them the next day. So it's perfectly fresh. So the same thing every morning, trucks leave from LA or even from the farmer's market in Santa Monica to bring Harris berries and to bring all the best vegetable fruits and stuff like that to Las Vegas. So modern transportation, Las Vegas is not far away, 5 hours. So if they pick this thing up this morning, they are there by noon in Las Vegas. So we can get everything there the same way we have it here.
Las Vegas is a town that has a lot of private aircraft coming in and out. Have you had any products ever, any stories about food being flown in private?
No, we fly in our guests, but not the products. So the products we just have to be organized enough so we know if somebody wants something special. But you have basically everything you want in Vegas already. You can, if you want live lobster, you can buy them there. If you want great salmon, you can buy them there. So meat, it keeps anyway, like our restaurant cut. We have all these different meats. So that doesn't matter if it's flown in today and we serve it next week, because most of the beef is dry aged and it's better anyway if it's aged a little bit. So I think the products we get in Las Vegas are second to none. We are very close to Southern California for the produce, where fruits and so forth. I know in New York, they have Harris berries in New York. I talked to my friend Danielle. And, it's farther there. By the time you send it by plane, then it sits at the airport, then they bring it to the fine dining restaurants. Here, they leave in the morning and you get them by the afternoon, you can serve them at night. So it's really not a problem to get things. In the old times, 30 years ago or so, it was different because you didn't have a lot of trucks going there. There was not the demand for specialized ingredients like what we have in restaurants. The only big hotels, they just order everything from the Grand Central Market. They pick carrots, pick zucchinis, and tomatoes, which all look the same. They don't get them from the farmer's market like heirloom tomatoes and so forth. So
very commodity, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Market,
so
yeah.
Now it's specialized just like we have it here.
Let me ask you, I think this week we're really trying to define Las Vegas cuisine. And, it's such an international town. It's hard to say that, but Wolfgang, someone who knows food so well, are there any menu items or dishes that represent the modern Las Vegas diner right now? Is there a movement happening there amongst your restaurants or others? I really respect your take, and I think you have a great answer to this one.
I think, we have a brand. If you go to Spago, you want to get things what people know for. Why do people go to Hermes? Because they want or a towel around their neck, a scarf, or they want a bag, if you're rich. So the same thing when they come to Spargo. They might want a smoked salmon pizza, or they might want agnolotti. So I think we really represent our brands. I don't think in Las Vegas you can say, okay, this is a Las Vegas cuisine, because you have every chef transported from all over the world who have restaurants there. If it's Nobu or if it's anybody, you might name them, they are there.
I got a few more questions. Thank you so much for your time. It's been so fun chatting with you. Let me ask you right now, what is the menu looking like at Spago Las Vegas, the restaurant, your flagship in the Bellagio? What's on the menu? What are some of the items that really represent Spago 24?
Well, I think a lot of the things are similar to what we have in Los Angeles. If you get the smoked salmon pizza, if you get the agnolotti, maybe now it's springtime, we have them filled with English peas. Or if we have like our Santa Barbara shrimps are in season now, so we use them. Beef and everything we use all year long. Wienerschnitz are my favorite. We use that now in there too. So it's really delicious. And for dessert, we have the Kaiserschmarrn and a Sachertorte with the chocolate souffle. So it's really something for everybody. But I'm really excited now about our newest restaurant, which is called Karama, which means dear Ma. My mother was a chef too. So in her honor, I opened this restaurant at the Mandalay Bay. And it's more an Italian restaurant. You can get everything from the panzino and the salt crust to my mother's favorite ravioli to a pasta amatriciana. We even have a station with the salumi in the middle of the dining room. So if you want to just sit down and have a little prosciutto with some melon, maybe they're getting in season, or figs or things like that, or have a mortadella or salami or culatello and things like that. And then we have great pastas and a lot of grilled food too. Like in Tuscany, people love grilled food, and we have great desserts, everything from a new version of a tiramisu to a hazelnut ice cream and fresh vanilla ice cream. We make it to order. So I think it's really special with a great Italian wine list. I love Barolos, I love Barbaresco, and I think we have really a great wine list there too. So to go with the food.
Someone does well on the blackjack table, maybe hits a couple in a row, they're going to have a little bit of change in their pocket. They're ordering the Super Tuscans. They're coming over, ordering a Super Tuscan, ordering the big Barolos. Let me ask you, has there been any big baller experiences coming into Spago that you want to talk about? I feel you get you win some, you lose some, but when you win some, you want to go celebrate. And why not go to Spago?
Or you have the big gambler. They get invited by the hotel, and they can go and order Petrus if they want to. They can order Lafitte if they want to. And naturally, they want caviar. They want Kobe steak. They want, the best of the best. So if you're a big gambler, you pay one way or another. So they get the biggest suite in the hotel. And so you have a lot of these high rollers, who get invited by the hotel, which is really, for us, a great thing, because they demand the best. And they look more on the right side of the menu than on the content of what the dishes are. I said, okay, I take this wine here because it's $5,000 a bottle. But we have also, and we always were part of the city. So we have a lot of local people come, like for brunch at Caramana. We have a lot of local people come. The same thing at Spargo. We make it easy for parking. People come in, drop off their car, and go to the restaurant. You don't have to go through a casino. The same thing at Spargo. In the Bellagio, you get the North Valley, you walk in, and there you are. You go shopping, and you go and eat, sit outside at Spargo, watch the fountains and everything. It's a great experience, and look at the Eiffel Tower.
I love the fountains. The fountains are so remarkable. For real, I've been several times, and I love checking out the fountains. Final few questions, and thanks again for your time. Las Vegas is a city to indulge. When you have a little extra time, how do you indulge when you're visiting Las Vegas?
My indulging is really going to games or concerts. I love boxing. Obviously, it's my favorite. I'm gonna see the fight in Riyadh. It's gonna be boring because there's no alcohol and there's no ambiance like in Las Vegas. You don't get the excitement. Like I went to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas and it was amazing. I
Yeah.
went, to the hockey finals, and it was great a few years ago. I went to see U2 at the opening at the Sphere, an amazing arena, amazing concert and everything. You don't see that anywhere else. So it is the city of entertainment, and now really is the city of great food, and great food is entertainment. If you go to a great restaurant, you can enjoy a tasting menu, or you can just have a wonderful steak like at Cat and have Matt, the chef there, make you a few appetizers and you're done. I think now the restaurant scene in Las Vegas is as diverse and interesting as anywhere. I think Las Vegas is amazing. It's an ever growing city. And, there's nobody who can compete now with Las Vegas. Like I remember 25 years ago, I thought maybe Atlantic City going to be the Las Vegas of the East Coast, but it never happened. And the rest they only have casinos, like the casino in down in Tampa is really a busy casino, but it's only one, and you don't have the variety of things to do. I mean, Las Vegas is perfect to go for a weekend. You go to see some shows, have some great dinner, and where else can you see all these amazing artists from Lady Gaga to all these Bruno Mars, you name them, they all have residency there now, and they play in Las Vegas. Plus, you can go out and also have wonderful meals, which before was a city of buffets. Now it's a city of fine restaurants.
100% agree with the fine restaurants, and it really is part of this week of coverage. We're hitting all the different formats,
Yeah.
and let's just go over, just for this interview, can we just go over the 5 restaurants?
Yeah. So we have 5 restaurants in Las Vegas. So we started with Sparrow. Then we opened the Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill at the MGM Grand, which is great too. And it's more moderately priced. And then we opened Cut at the Palazzo, probably one of the best steakhouses there is anywhere. And about 5 years ago, we moved Spargo from the Forum to the Bellagio. And I think that was a great move because the Bellagio really have our customer base. It's still after all these years, one of the best, or one of the 3 best hotels in town. So we are very excited to be there. And the restaurant is doing very well. And then we open a Cut, I said already. And then we opened Karma at the Mandalay Bay. So we had Lupo there for many years, since 95 or so also. And now we remodeled it completely. And I wanted to do an homage to my mother. My mother was a great chef. She could make the best pastas. And so we opened this Italian style restaurant, obviously with a few of my influences and so forth. And then we need good bread. So about a year ago, we opened 1228 downtown off the strip, a bakery with a little restaurant and a bar. But mainly it's a bakery, so to get good bread. Remember, when we opened Spargo, we had to make our own bread and you couldn't get good bread. There were no bakery. It was all manufactured, Wonder Bread type bread there. So now you can get bread as good there as anywhere.
Well, I love hearing your memory of off strip, or your thoughts on the off strip, and the fact that you're thinking about off strip for your bar and your bread program. You must get excited about when you're off the main strip, when you're working
Yeah.
the concept, because that's probably a little more for the locals. But also, I personally like going down there for the food. I like being a little off strip.
You know what? It's a great contrast. Being in a big hotel with thousands of people, you go off strip, you feel like you're in a neighborhood. It feels like your neighborhood restaurant where you can eat a pizza, a glass of red wine, hang out, and that's it. You're not going to go to a show every day. You're not going to go out every night. Sometimes you just take it easy. Or we serve breakfast there, so you can get your huevos rancheros or the minimum or things like that and
Whew.
be very happy. And I think the same thing is with Karama at the Mandalay Bay. It's a restaurant where you can walk in. We have a beautiful bar. You say, okay, I just want some salumi and platter of salumi. And then maybe a pasta. You sit at the bar by yourself, maybe, you don't always have somebody with you.
Yeah.
And you feel totally fine. We have a great bar program, a great wine list. So I think it's really, to me, going there is such a joy because the pastas they make, our chef there, Max, is an Italian chef. So he understands what I like. So to me, it couldn't be any better. When U2 was playing at this fair, which was an amazing concert, this fair is amazing as an arena. And we are there at Cut. You could walk over the bridge, so you're right at this fair there. And we had some appetizer and a cocktail. And after the show was over, 7 minutes later, we were back at the restaurant and had the main course and hung out for an hour or two. So it's a perfect way to spend the evening.
What a great way to close this interview. That memory, 7 minutes, you're there in the dining room after seeing U2 at the Sphere. Wolfgang Puck, thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thank you, Matt.
Liza, we're here in Las Vegas. We've had a week of dining adventures. We're recapping it along the way. And one thing that we wanted to see right away, you had this great idea when we started prepping for this trip. It was to really focus on Las Vegas' Chinatown. Why did you want us to go there?
Well, I've heard a lot of good things about the food in Las Vegas's Chinatown, and also I just want to eat Chinese food everywhere I go. Full
Right.
disclosure. So I think the combination of those two factors led us there. But I think we both would say that driving around Chinatown, eating as much food as we could in one day was one of the highlights of the trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing, Las Vegas has always been considered a real destination for folks from China, from East Asia, like Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, because it's a gambling destination and culturally gambling is large in Asia. So I think there's always been this sense that in the casinos, you can get great dim sum, you can get Cantonese food, even Szechuan food. But really what we wanted to focus was to leave the casinos and go to this Chinatown and see some of the I would say the highlights, some of the favorites, but also some new spots. So really, when you started doing your research, there was a couple places we had to go to, but the first place I believe was always on your list.
Yeah, and I just want to give a little bit more context. Something I think is interesting about Vegas Chinatown is that it's not a residential Chinatown. A lot of the Chinatowns across the United States in places like New York and San Francisco were created by immigration moving to an area and then people making their own restaurants and businesses to support their community. And then here in Vegas, Chinatown was actually created as a business venture. In the late 90s, they started developing these kind of Chinatown malls that have, as you're saying, food and drinks and all kinds of things from all across Asia as a bid to be attracting the tourists that were coming to the region. So when you go to Vegas Chinatown, there's a lot of strip malls with all kinds of different food, and there isn't necessarily housing nearby in the same kind of way, but it is kind of the business district that you would go to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important distinction that this is a commercial center and a place where people go to eat and buy things, but really the food has been a real highlight. So let's go to the first spot. What drew you to Ping Pang Pong?
Well, I think Ping Ping Pong is one of the first places that a lot of people will talk about in terms of Chinatown, Vegas. It's in a casino, a dim sum spot that's been around for a while. And when we rolled up at like 10 a.m. on a Saturday, which I would say is pretty prime brunch dim sum hours, it seemed that it was kind of filling up in the place to be.
I'm going to set the scene a little bit. You enter the Gold Coast Casino, which is considered still a strip casino, but it's in that in-between area. A really, I would say, throwback to the 1980s. It's a place that people still love to gamble. The parking lot was full when we were there. I think around 10 a.m. is when we showed up. And that was key in the decision because we arrived at 10 and we got seated right away. But by the time we left, it was a line, a queue.
You come into Ping Ping Pong, you sit down, they have the dim sum ladies going around with carts you can grab things off of. You also can order from the folks directly there. And it is kind of that kind of classic staple dim sum menu. I think for me, the Hargao was the standout.
Absolutely, me too. I thought that we tried a few things. There were some greens. We tried a bun. But really, out of the three things we tried, because we needed to save room.
We had more than three things.
Did we have four?
We had 4 or 5.
Oh,
I think we could say 5.
Okay, we'll say 5. We had 5 things. We really wanted to pace ourselves. Pacing has been a challenge on this trip. I have to admit that I'm not great at it.
I think Matt has no pacing actually, but it's okay because we just need the sheer enthusiasm to get through it at a certain point.
But the vibe is truly original. I would say families from all over. I would say all over the Chinatown community were there. It felt like that was the vibe.
The hargao was really well filled and plump. It had the kind of tender dumpling skin, steamed dumpling, and the juicy shrimp. The rest of it, I think, was maybe not my favorite.
Yeah.
But I think it is really about the location, that especially if you're staying near that casino or at that casino, or if you want to be gambling and also having dim sum in close proximity, that's where you go.
Yeah. So next up, we wanted to check out a cafe, a Korean-owned cafe, not far from Ping Pang Pong. It's called Gabi Cafe or Gabi Cafe, one of the two. And I think, Eliza, you were smart to check it out. We needed, obviously, a little caffeine. It was going to be a long day. But really, this place is really special. It feels exactly the type of cafe you would find in Seoul or down in Busan or any of the places like city centers in Korea. The aesthetic is very cool. It's a blend of wood and dark mahoganies with like kind of this poured concrete in a brutalist style. With lots of
Also, like there's a giant greenhouse in the center of the cafe that they're roasting and using as the prep kitchen.
I know that part was wild, and I love that aesthetic where it's like you've got place to cook, you've got your, it's very useful, it's very like utilitarian, but it also has a real aesthetic. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think the Angelino in me always loves a strip mall experience that is a lot different than what you might expect. And I really think you walk through these big, heavy wooden doors and you enter this beautiful, light-filled room where there's all kinds of folks that are, I think, mostly locals in Vegas that are doing work or they're hanging out and having their Saturday coffee together. And the drinks and the food is all really aesthetically beautiful in a way that also is delicious, which I think sometimes is hard to find a combination of the
Right.
two.
So let's talk about the food, Eliza. We ordered about 8 things. It was really, everything was stunning. Like, I thought it was presented so well. Did you have a favorite item?
Yeah, the lavender latte, I think, was my favorite drink that we had, which is surprising because I'm not normally a lavender latte person.
Yeah, me too. And I thought everything was cool that it wasn't too sweet. It was beautiful. A lot of like shades of purple from lavender and ube. Saw a lot of those flavors and colors coming out. I liked the Einspanner. Like, to me, Einspanner is the quintessential, at least as of 2024, Korean coffee drink. It has a unique history too.
Yeah, and I'd never had one before, and I had to ask you what it was. So maybe on mic again, I'll ask you for anyone else who didn't know what it was. What is that?
Well, I'll tell you my take on it is it's not sweet. Typically, it can be very very much an unsweetened beverage, but it's basically espresso with a heavy cream on top and then a cocoa like dusting. So it's a very simple just espresso, cream, and then cocoa. So it's nothing too crazy. I've seen like a little bit of caramel added to it in certain places, but typically to me, it's considered a pretty unsweetened thing. And I thought they did a great job here.
Yeah, also you mentioned ube, and I think what you're referring to is this ube cheesecake that we had, which
yeah.
was really cool because it was actually like multiple components in a slice. So it had that graham cracker base, it had that thick, creamy ube cheesecake, and then it also had a thin layer of sponge on top. And it was all, of course, very purple and really delicious. And if you're looking for a breakfast cheesecake, which I think we all were, it fit that bill for me.
It did. And I just want to close and say, the aesthetic is really, really vibey, but the coolest thing is in the back. There's like a multi-level little space that you take off your shoes and you can kick back and be seated on the floor, and it's really nice.
Yeah, and they have a really cool collection of old books up there that I was enjoying looking through. They have a Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that's been on my eBay watch list for a long period of time that I enjoyed looking at, and all kinds of different things. I definitely think if I was a local in Vegas, you would find me at Gabby all the time.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Shang Artisan Noodles. Let's just pause and just say this was one of our favorite meals of all of our trip.
If I lived in Vegas, you would also find me at Shang Artisan Noodle every day. It was so good.
Set the scene for us.
So you walk in, also strip mall. Love that.
Yeah.
And there's an open kitchen, and you can see all of these people just absolutely slinging noodle dough around. There's the smack of it hitting the counter and then spiraling back up again. And they're making multiple different shapes of noodles and different knife cuts, which I think is really cool as well. And it was popping off. There was a 20-seat family table coming in when we were there.
I loved seeing that when we were exiting. They were all entering. It looked like a family gathering. You were smart. We got on Yelp on the reservation wait list, which happens at a couple places here in Vegas. Seems to be quite popular.
Yeah.
I love that it's a glass box, so you can see them making the noodles, as you mentioned. Love that. It, to me, like seeing your noodles made and then put right into your bowl like within 10 minutes is something about that. But like sometimes it falls short. Like in New York, there's a couple places, to be unnamed, that they have the great pageantry of making noodles, but it might not be the best bowl of noodles. But this was really an exceptional couple dishes.
Yeah, I think we all were really excited about it. We started off with the cucumbers in kind of a spicy peanut sauce, which was really refreshing and I think kind of got us going again after all of our sweet treats at Gabby. And then I think the dan dan noodles were my favorite. We got those with the knife cut style. And I find that sometimes with dan dan noodles, the minced pork is pretty small, but we actually had these really nice, like tender pieces that were kind of clinging on to these thick cut noodles.
Yeah, and we also had this spicy beef noodle soup as well. And what I liked about Shang is it really felt like it was composed. It felt extremely thoughtful, and the way they were garnishing, it was clearly a real craftsmanship there. For a couple bowls of noodles that cost under $15 each, very affordable meal. And really, to me, I agree with you. The dan dan was probably my favorite. Sometimes that ragu can get a little bit, like one note, but there was like real depth there, to use a really corny term. Sorry, listener. But I felt like it was really delicious. And really, I thought that the cucumber salad, I agree. So like those cucumbers are like on a level of crisp. Your girlfriend Shirley mentioned she was dining with us that she hadn't had any cucumbers like that in a while. That's a real art to the crispy cucumber salad. I love that.
Yeah, I think, everything about it was so special. And I will just say about the noodles being so fresh, I do think you can feel that when you're chewing them. They're so bouncy and chewy and just everything you want out of it. And we were going off to eat at other places, so we didn't quite finish our plates. And I think that the servers thought something was genuinely wrong because nobody ever does that there.
Right, I know. We had to be politely decline the doggy bag, which
we did good work, I will say. We didn't leave a lot of these precious noodles behind because we have standards, but I think Shang was definitely a highlight of the whole trip for me.
Absolutely. We'll get to that in three things at the end of this week's of episodes. You'll hear some of our favorites, and this might be making the list, a couple of these dishes on that three things. Okay, so we took a little pit stop before we get to our final Chinatown noodle adventure, but we went and had a drink. Can you explain where we went?
Yeah, and I would also say having a drink is maybe underselling what actually happened. We went to Golden Tiki, which is a very popular 24-hour tiki bar in Vegas. I will say the idea of a 24-hour tiki bar is so surreal and very Vegas in a lot of ways. And you walk in and you're kind of fully committing to the tiki bar experience. They have the parrots that are saying naughty things.
Really
they have
naughty.
really dark light, all kinds of trippy lights. And honestly, really amazing cocktails. I think my favorite drink there was called the No Brainer, which they serve in a skull and they light on fire. But none of those reasons are why I liked it. I think the reason why I liked it was that it just tasted so good that you would have no idea that there were 19 different liquors inside of it, except for we saw it happen, and that truly was what was going on.
It was an amazing experience. I'm an NA dude, but I enjoyed the experience nonetheless. And I enjoyed the way that a 24-hour cocktail bar operates. You really can't find those anywhere in the country. You might find some dives, and we spoke with one of the proprietors, and there had been some ownership changes over the years. But previously, it was like a tiki dive bar. Now he's got almost 200 bottles of rum from all over the world, and it's really one of the rum destinations on the west coast.
Speaking of rum, another drink we had there that I really liked was called the Black Betty, which is an original cocktail that their bar director invented and actually won some accolades in competition before. It's using Betty Page spiced rum, and then it has Amaro Calabrese, 5-spice, lemon and pineapple juice, and aquafaba for that kind of frothy top. And it really, it wasn't too sweet. It had that kind of like base note of bitterness from the Amaro, and it also was a like dangerously drinkable tiki bar situation. Also, they have virtual blackjack set in the bar
Oh,
there.
yeah.
They have Dean Martin impersonators coming through during happy hour.
Bands playing all the time. The 2 a.m. bands playing.
Yeah, the giant clamshell that you can sit and take photos in, potentially up to 4 ghosts that live on the premises.
I was going to say the ghosts are definitely part of the atmosphere. Books falling off shelves potentially. There's like definitely some ghost energy in there.
Yeah, we did hear that. I would say if you're coming to Vegas and you want to have a really good drink and also kind of get the lay of the land of where else you should go, I would definitely go to Golden Tiki, sit at the bar, talk with the bar staff, and get their other recommendations because it seems like a destination for everyone in the service industry to come in and drink there as well.
So on our last stop, let's talk about Wing Key Hong Kong barbecue and noodle. Wow, really blown away by this place. Much respect and shout out to Andy Wang for recommending it. Food writer based in LA, spends a lot of time in Las Vegas. He was like, you need to go there. It's not in the proper Chinatown, and we kind of debated if we were going to even include it in this roundup. But we get a sense that this is an important restaurant. We mentioned it to Penny from Lotus of Siam. She had been there. Eliza, what did you think about Wing Key?
Okay, I just want to say I was wrong because I was so full and I didn't want to go eat more food. And then we went to Wing Key and it truly was like the best roast duck I've ever had. The duck buns were so juicy and flavorful. And I find that sometimes when you're eating a roast duck bun, the skin and the meat can kind of like separate and they're two different chewing experiences in your mouth. But this wasn't happening. It really was just some of the best barbecue I've ever had. Shirley and I were like freaking out over how good it was. And I'm so glad that we went.
Me too. And really, I felt like it was a special experience because we kind of like rolled in. We had to wait about 30 minutes. And it was
we also used the Yelp waitlist
that's
to
right.
get in line ahead of time.
Eliza with the sharp eye for the Yelp waitlist. We still had to wait a little while. Kind of a small place. And really, I'm so glad we went. It was great. I love the noodles too we had. The duck noodles.
I would say anything barbecue that's happening at Wing Key is worth ordering. And you walk in and there's signs hanging from the ceiling that are signs from different businesses in Hong Kong. They kind of have the indoor-outdoor streetscape aesthetic happening inside. Right. It really feels like a love letter to Cantonese food and Hong Kong style food. And the owner, Ida, was there when we were there and getting to chat with her and just hearing about, why she chose to not be in Vegas Chinatown in the first place, why they wanted to open the restaurant. I think it was really special.
So we were able to catch Ida Sheck. She's the owner of the restaurant with her husband. She's been running it for about 5 years. She used to work in the service industry and at the casinos, and she really got the idea that this kind of neighborhood off the Chinatown proper needed its own place that specialized in Hong Kong style barbecue. And really what she mentions in the interview and what I got a sense from is that she's a real student of the game when it comes to kind of preserving Cantonese recipes. She mentioned Queens as a place and Toronto as places where there's like a dying society of chefs who are trying to preserve this style of cooking that has like a 50-year legacy in America.
Speaking with Ida, she really was talking about how her and her husband, and they were working in the casinos on the Strip in Vegas, were meeting this generation of older Cantonese cooks who were leaving the industry and had these really traditional recipes with them that they wanted to carry on. And those are the recipes that they are preserving and sharing with people at Wing Key. And you'll hear more from Ida about that in this interview.
We're here at Wing Key, and I've just met the proprietor. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Ida. So I'm the owner of this restaurant. So I'm from Hong Kong as well. So besides promoting our barbecue food in here, also we provide a place for a lot of the Hong Kong people from West Coast. A lot of them just come over to enjoy our environment because we opened in 2019. Those are more like few months before the pandemic. Yeah. So a lot of our people from Hong Kong or Asian people, they come to our restaurant, look at our interior, our design, everything. They have a little connection here and there.
So Ida, you were telling me the food that you're cooking here is from Hong Kong, and it's kind of a dying cuisine. You were saying in Queens and then in Toronto, a lot of the Cantonese chefs are retiring, and you're holding the traditions here. And we just finished having your barbecue duck barbecue pork, and wow, just blew us all away how amazing it is. So let's talk a little bit about the food that you're preparing.
Yes, Hong Kong barbecue, basically, there are so many different, I would say, different categories. Some of the chefs, it's from different part of Canton area. They make it differently. But for me, born and raised in Hong Kong, so I definitely know the taste, what it is. It's not as strong. So we just keep it in more like a little moderate place, which is like comfortable for me for the taste. At the same time, would be easy for everyone here to try on, and then they would love it.
So you're keeping the Cantonese traditions alive in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is a city with a food scene that's really prominent, but also kind of misunderstood. And there's a lot of really amazing places that are in Chinatown that are a little bit off the strip. How do you fit into the Las Vegas dining scene?
For me to look at it, because I've been in Vegas for 25 years, so I graduated UNLV 2001. So since then, I worked on the Strip, basically every single big casino I've been working. And then after the pandemic, I quit and just run my business. For me to look at it, I would just feel like there are so many different kind of food, but for me, why we open it a little bit away from Chinatown, it's because we just want to hold the taste or hold the style that we want to hold. So whoever think it's good food, they would just come over. Instead of, we would like to open a spot in Chinatown and just to compete with each other. So that is why for 5 years we opened, so we keep our group of customer.
And your husband is the chef.
Yes.
And
If he's not the chef, I'm not going to open a restaurant.
So did he work in the casinos as well? And you both came together to open your restaurant 5 years ago. And let me just get a sense, what kind of recipes you learned from the past, the elder Cantonese chefs, Hong Kong chefs, you learned from them to open up your place?
Yes, basically, we know quite a lot of chef from the casino, so they retired. So at that time, that after they retired, we would just go ahead and ask, like, do you mind if you can teach us? We promise we will keep the recipe, not to cut the corner. At the same time, we want to preserve it.
Last question, what are some of your signature dishes here at your restaurant?
So Winky Hong Kong barbecue and noodle. Our signature dish is the roasted duck for sure, and then crispy pork belly, barbecue pork, and the soy sauce chicken. It's basically like the grandma recipe. Everybody come in, they will love it.
Thank you so much, Ida. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for coming far away from New York.
This has been All In on Las Vegas Food, presented by Las Vegas. This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.